My mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Raiden Arrow, and we are back at it again for another episode on Future Financial Strategies. Now, this one is going to be interesting because we're going to be showing my portfolio, but it's not a portfolio update monthly episode, but it's one of the strategies that I've started toying around with and using. So I definitely wanted to be open and transparent. This one, it's a little bit forward of like toyed with it a couple of times. Normally about the third time I get into something or set up a groove, I'll start letting you guys know about it, unless something goes catastrophically wrong. And then I'll let you know about it at that point because it's going to be a strategy that I won't use. But then you'll have a cautionary tale out of the deal because everything is content. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the portfolio to the screen. Obviously, as of this recording today, the market got beat up a little bit. Bitcoin got beat up. I follow my thesis. So having a crypto influence portfolio, my portfolio pretty much got beat up. And we're fine about it. It's okay. I'm used to seeing red numbers. I've seen way worse numbers than this. Also, full disclosure, this doesn't track the this doesn't track the total return. So like even when it says the gain loss up here of like I've lost 7%, it's actually up probably around. Actually, hold on, I can look. It's actually the total profit, including the dividends that got paid out, is 23%. So, like, that's one of the other reasons. Like, I'm used to this just being red. But we're going to jump into it. So, this episode is going to be solely focused. Also, make sure you hit that like. If you haven't subscribed and you've been here more than twice, hit the subscribe, share the video. We're not trying to get rich over here by ourselves. If it's useful for you, it's probably useful for somebody close to you. Share the video. The video that we're doing today is getting started with margins. And this is immediately going to turn off all the Dave Ramsey people. It's going to turn off all the people who don't believe in debt and people don't use debt. But this is a really useful tool that we have at our disposal within our brokerage accounts. Now, I always tell people this is one of the reasons I say use a real brokerage. And by real brokerage, I mean like a Fidelity, an E-Trade, a Charles Schwab, which is what I use. Or, you know, even Robinhood does have margin. And I'm pretty sure there's some of the other little ones that I don't really consider because like Robinhood is robbing you on the spreads. So, like, even though you think you're getting free trades, you're not getting free trades. But I digress. Robinhood does have a margin mechanism that actually, if you have their premium account that you pay for, seems pretty interesting because they kind of give you a free $1,000, which is kind of nice. But I've started touching in on my margin because I noticed, like, my account, this account right here, the one that's sitting at $26,729.64. I have a margin on here of $38,000 that they'll let me have access to. So like I can make some pretty big moves. Like normally, actually, I think it's only $38,000 after hours because like normally it's about like I think 19. It's like 18 or 19 is normally what I see. But I've never messed with it in the sense of like I've pulled all of it and started just making some very large purchases. I know some people out there that do that. I just don't want to burn assets. So I have not done that with this account. But I always tell people when they set their account up to make sure to at minimum turn the margin on. I understand not everybody's going to do options. Like I have a portfolio, an account with Charles Schwab that's specific for options, and that's what it's used for, and I don't use it for nothing else. So options are on that, but on every account, I'm like, turn your margin on. And the reason I say that is because having that margin also might give you it gives you some flexibility, because this is almost like a HELOC, but it's for your stocks. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the HELOC and HELOC strategies, your HELOC is daily interest. So like when you pull out of a HELOC, they start charging you daily a little increment of interest based on how much you pulled out and how many days you had it. But it's a set amount based on your house. So like you can get HELOCs for, I think they're 7-8% right now, which is cool. So my margin account in here, I think it's about 13%. But since it's daily, I don't normally have money just sitting in there daily. So what I've started doing is, before my big payouts, I've started, actually what I'm going to do, what the strategy is going to be is I'm calling it Margin Mondays. And if you follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, it'll be in my little, like, the little checker box that you have on your messaging side of Instagram. I'll put it up in there with some music. Maybe you can listen to it while you check and see what the Margin Monday was used to buy. But I'm going to do it every Monday. I'm going to do $100. And the reason it's so low is because I don't believe in testing your margins. I believe in using things for what they're intended for. At a certain point, though, say for instance, you had a credit card that you wanted to pay off and you were going to sell your stock to do it. But if you have an income coming in, now you're just losing your position and incurring a tax burden. You could also just use the margin, pull that out of your account. And I have tested this. I did it on accident the first time when I found out that I had margin turned on this account. But I just overdraw the account. Like if there's $0 sitting in there and I pull out $1,000, it just puts $1,000 into my bank account. So it kind of turns my account in and of itself into a credit card. And then as the dividends go in there, it pays back the margin. And then you're good to go. You go about your business. You have a great day. Live your life. That's one way to use it. The other way is what I'm doing currently is I'm going to use margin to help speed up building out my account. So I'm going to do $100 a week. We're going to buy however many shares we can get up to $100. As you can see, we're sitting at negative 196.80. That's because I didn't do it. I was supposed to start this last week and I didn't. And then when I got in there today, I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy the 2 weeks worth just to kind of jumpstart this along. Now, what I will be doing is every position that we're currently pushing to get to 100 shares, which currently we're working on getting Marrow, that's what I'm likely going to use the margin on. So I bought six shares of Marrow today, and now my account balance is sitting at just under negative $200. Now, when I get paid off my Misty dividend on Friday, with my dividend payout coming Friday, I will clear that out. It'll pay it back. So normally what we're looking at is I should be sitting at about negative $400 at all times in this account. And yes, you pay like a little bit of interest, but considering it's a number of days, like if it's just a month, it's going to be like a couple of bucks. That's fine. I'm going to make a couple of bucks off those dollars anyway. So like the margin gets paid back. I'm not testing the account in any sense of like running a risk of it getting called because it's such a minuscule amount, and the dividend pays it back. So like I'm not super worried about it. One of the things I am going to have to play with is if I want to deposit any additional cash, I might have to wait, because if I deposit it, any cash deposited from outside of the account immediately goes towards paying the margin. So one of the other strategies that I'm looking at down the road, once I have my everything loaded into this account, because eventually my whole paycheck will just land in here, is pulling money out as needed off the margin to pay bills and stuff. and which will honestly just be repaying the credit cards because we want to get our points, so we pay all the stuff on the credit card and pulling the margin out, paying the credit card off every month, and then as my check lands, it takes care of the margin. And then as the dividends come in, it'll wipe out whatever excess margin there is, and then you take whatever's left, reinvest it, and then rinse and repeat, because as we start moving forward, we're going to be getting a pretty decent paycheck every week. That's the goal. So right now, our primary, because we started with Misty and it's our springboard and landing place for a lot of funds, so it's over. I've gorged that Misty position. And so it's one of the beliefs that I have is focus. I know a lot of people, especially in the content creation space, they have like 3 shares of 20 ETFs. To me, it's the dumbest thing ever, because you're not getting any good payments. Like you're just getting like a trickle of money in and everything's dripped, and then you got to put it in, and then you're diversifying under these 20. And like for me, I started off and I was a little bit look squirrely with my account, especially once the dividends were coming out. I was like floating some money around, and then I started really focusing in. I'm like, okay, what's my high conviction that I know I'm not going to get rid of? And it's Misty. Like, I'm not going to trade out my Misty. I mean, I have swung trade Misty during the run-ups, but my goal is to get to a position where my minimum is 1,000 shares. Currently, we are at, looking at the portfolio that you guys can't see who are listening, we're at 810 shares. So I got 190 more shares of Misty to hit my baseline, but I want to have 1,200 shares. The reason I want to have 1,200 shares is so that I can either do call options or have something to sell off if there's like a good amount of capital appreciation to use to like supercharge another position. Now, the point at which we start our wheel strategy is going to be 100 shares. So after I get 100 shares of Mero, which we're at 66 shares of right now, then I will start working on the next week, because I have a chunk of Misty going into Mero anyways, every payout. But then we'll also have that strategy going where we do the margin pull. Now, one of the things that I like to talk about when I talk about margin is they're like, people are like, oh, you could take more like safely. And I'm like, yes, but right now we are waiting to see what our tax burden is going to be. And our focus is just building up the portfolios and using this as a kind of a supercharging turtle mode for the income portfolio, where we just keep the funds within there. We've got a couple of other small things that we're doing with some of that money, but by and large, the vast majority of the money, it's not like what we were doing earlier where we were pulling it out and using it to pay debt. We are managing debt now. We are in a managing debt space through March, and we're reinvesting as much as we can. So we've got a couple of positions in our long-term portfolio. We are going to send some money over there. We'll be pulling small parts out for a couple of specific expenses that we have picked up, and that'll just be this month and next month. There's 2 specific ones that I am going to pull a little bit of that money, but the vast majority of it is going towards either reinvestment or setting up the other portfolios. So we will be kicking a little bit off to get those 10 shares of MicroStrategy. We're going to be kicking a little bit off there. We're going to be starting that MSTX position. Going to be kicking a little bit off for that. But that aside, those are the caveats. We got 2 months of like, we've got a little touch here and there where we're going to touch that margin for a couple of things that we've got going on around here. But outside of that, everything that goes into the portfolio is going to go in under the guise of recycling and building the portfolio out. This 3 months is going to be kind of a little pace pickup for the portfolio in and of itself, because I'm expecting that we will get semi close. I think we might be able to hit 1,000 shares over 3 months of reinvestment with what we're getting now, because we're getting a few $1,000s now. but I want to get the 100 shares of tomorrow. I want to get at least, I'm hoping that I can get at least 3 weeks paying where they're wheeling into the other weeks, and then maybe even 4 if we're lucky. But like I feel like that's pushing it. Like 100 shares kind of tough, like looking at the positions that we've got. Like we're going to bring Tesla back into the fold for the week 1 because I think that's going to be the strongest pair in week 1. But Morrow, I mean, once we get to 100, this is going to be like $3,500. So, you know, we've got a little bit of work to do, but that's the reason we're going to be using the margin to speed this up. Because when I get paid, it just takes the $400 hit off the top of whatever our dividend payout is, and then I'll disperse the rest and manage that money as needed. But that's why we're doing it. So the reasons that you would use margin for me, why? To help supercharge and speed up building your portfolio, because we've been doing arbitrage to get money in here. We've done credit arbitrage to build a lot of this up, which is pulling your cash advances at 0%, taking the 4% service fee hit and investing in assets and then paying it back. And in this case, we're paying it back with the dividends. We incurred some additional expenses that way, which kind of sucked, but now that we're where we're at, we're managing the debt and kind of making the moves necessary to make it as efficient as possible. But margin to build your portfolio, as long as you're not, I wouldn't ever go over 50%. That's just me personally. Like when it comes to risky tools, I'm defensively risky. Now, if you're investing in penny stocks, I wouldn't even do this. The reason I'm doing this is because I have a means to pay it back, and these are positions that are high conviction for me, and I've done my research. So I'm willing to sink or swim on this. Also, I have the income to pay back $400. Now, if you're sitting out there and your portfolio goes belly up or just blows up, and you've got 15,000 in margin sitting out there, that's going to be problematic, because then you might get that paid off. Like, I mean, if you liquidate the assets, you're sitting somewhere where you don't want to be. And then now you've got a few $1,000s in debt that you now have to deal with. So this is a very risky play. There's no part of this that's not risky. Even with the $400, it's just, I know I can pay the $400 back, and I don't see every position in my portfolio going to zero at the same time altogether. And I'm doing it incrementally, so that way I'm getting the dollar cost average effect. I'm getting to play the numbers at that point. That's why I'm doing it. The other reason, it's going to help with managing the debt, because as soon as I get to a point where the debt is pretty much, we're down to the last card, we're getting the last few $1,000s, there's a potential chance that I might switch my direct deposit and go ahead and put that margin and knock that card, whatever's left on that card, out, and then just switch my deposit over to my income portfolio, and then start working out of this portfolio exclusively. That means all money in, no money out. We have all the money come in, we work it from the dividend, and on the back end of that, the portfolio continues to get built. We do all of our investments out of the dividends, and we just build and stack and build and stack until we get to a point to where we don't have to go to work anymore, which would be great. So that's the play. That's the plan. Getting started with it, it's important that it's one of the questions that they ask you. I know specifically when I when I set up my Charles Schwab accounts, it asks me if I want to have margin on them. And I always put yes. Now moving forward, because like, honestly, I got to go back and figure out how to turn it on for my long-term holdings account, because I don't have margin in that account. But I also don't think I need it, because if this is my functional account and everything else is a splinter off of this account, this is the only account that really needs margin. Because if I need margin, I can pull it from here and just transfer it over. Like, I can send money out of here in the negative too. Like, if I'm sitting at $200 negative right now, if I wanted to send $1,000 to my long-term holding portfolio, I could do that right now, and it would just be $1,200 negative. If I wanted to send another $1,000 to my bank account, it would give me the $1,000, and then it would be $2,200 negative. Well, late night math is not my forte. $2,200 negative. So like I can continue to pull up to that $38,000. But that's where the responsibility comes in, because if the market tanks, then they can start liquidating assets to make sure that that margin is taken care of. Also, I'm not pulling money like that to where I would pay it back anywhere near fast enough to like feel safe pulling. I don't even want to pull over, I mean, honestly, over $2,500. Like, I don't want to pull over what I'm around about what I'm getting every month, because I don't want to have to owe my account money. Also, at this juncture, I'm not at a space, and this is one of those things where you have to understand yourself and you have to be financially literate. I am not at a space to where I need to be banging the margin like that. I'm not there yet. So the $100 a week is cool. Maybe we switch that up once we start getting a few of these positions going and we've got some stronger weekly income. Maybe we kick it up a little bit once we get the debt paid off and we shift over to paying out of this account. And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, like, in all honesty, outside of the fact that a bunch of stuff's going to be sitting at zero interest, like, as we're building this account out, as those accounts, if they're not paid off, the zero interest accounts, by their deadlines, it might be advantageous for me to pull that versus paying the 20-something%. Paying 12-13% out of this actually is a better deal. And then, but the caveat to that is, at that point, I'm no longer able to invest in the portfolio, because then now the debt's consolidated. Yes, I'm getting chunks of it done with the dividend payouts every month, but also I'm no longer capable of reinvesting in the portfolio. So like there's trade-offs for this. That's the reason I'm like, I try to manage the debt outside of here right now, because once this is paid off, as far as massive debts go, I won't be having anymore. Like, you shouldn't be remaking messes. Now, life event messes, they happen. So what are you going to do? Life happens to all of us. But moving forward, I should be able to stack enough ahead to where it's like, either my dividend payouts are enough to cover any immediate life messes, like hopefully a few of them in tandem, because I'm getting these good payments every month. Like, once I get to where my dividend portfolio is kicking out $5,000 a month, like, that's $5,000 in addition to what I'm bringing home anyways. That's a whole nother employee in the house, full-time worker with a decent job. So as things come up and it's just me, like, I should be able to field some stuff. Like, if the surgery rehab car thing came up, like, I should be good on that moving forward. Like, that should be a never again occurrence for me, as long as this stuff's set up right, especially now that we're fully funding that HSA. So like, we've got funds dedicated specifically to that. That's going to be the buffer there. But like, also every month I should be bringing in enough income to where I should be able to handle some stuff in sequential order in tandem. So that's what we're looking at. And we're going to be expanding on the other tools as that debt comes off, because obviously the less debt you have, better your credit is, more opportunity, the more they want to throw money at you. And you know me, you throw money at me, I'm probably going to take it. But we're going to go ahead and end it on that. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you guys got a little bit more understanding of how margins within your brokerage account work, how they can work. Maybe got some gears spinning for you for some financial strategies that you can use. Because I mean, it's a versatile tool. It's a HELOC for your stocks. Stocks obviously being way more volatile than a house, but I digress. Like, it's basically the same thing. So as you're setting it up, and also it's a way to sidestep taxes. Like, I don't understand why people are so gung-ho to just go create taxable event after taxable event after taxable event. Like, that is wild to me. But, you know, Also giving up assets. Like you're giving up assets. You're literally eating your assets. Like figure out the income piece and then use margin, borrow against your assets like the wealthy do. Till next time, people, we'll see you next week, and tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about margins. I know some people are going to be adamantly against it, but I'd be willing to have that conversation in a live format. Like I really want to start spurring these conversations, because like these financial conversations need to happen, because a lot of times you might be following rhetoric, but it's like mathematically, it's like, how does this work? How are things actually used? Like, why are these tools there? What is their intent? So tap in with me down in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about margins, what you think now about margins, since we're at the end of the video. Also, make sure, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Much appreciated. Also, if you've been here more than 2 times, hit that subscribe button. And definitely, if you got some value out of this, share it with somebody you care about, because we're not trying to get rich over here by ourselves. These strategies are things that everybody can do. Most of you won't, but they're things that everybody can do. So like us winning, we can all win at some of this stuff together, because like we're not necessarily in direct competition as far as the strategy side of it goes. Till next week, people, it's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and I am out.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't blame it, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.